Coach Ed Ogeron had some nice things to say about the Ivy League transfer offensive lineman Liam Shanahan.
We're thinking that Liam may be a center. What we hear, and obviously we can't watch him, but he's snapping well. Is what the quarterbacks are telling him. The other offensive linemen like him. They're working together. He's very smart. We feel that he for sure can make the calls and be a leader for us. He's a big young man. He's 6'5", 310. He's a tough young man. He is really, really impressive. I met his family. His daddy is a big Irishman. He's put, I think, four students through Ivy League schools, and what a great family, and very impressed with the young man so far, but he's got to go through camp and get it done.
Center was one of the things that they were going to have to address with the departure of Lloyd Cushenberry, but I think a lot of people, myself included, thought that Chasen Hines would have the inside track there going into spring, which we didn't have,
right.
or mostly didn't have, and into the summer, which we have sort of had. Hines is bigger than the last time we saw him, too much bigger than the last time we saw him. Now, they moved Joseph Evans over there earlier in the year, so and now we're talking about Shanahan, who I think was brought in to kind of be I hate to use the term Swiss Army knife, gets used too much, but he was used to be a guy who could play multiple positions, and now I think they may be looking at center. Coach O just confirmed it a little bit harder because they got to find a guy there. Hines has got to be able to play at that playing weight that he did when he was against Auburn, and right now he's not at that weight.
I think a lot of people realize what Lloyd Cushenberry meant to this team a year ago, right? The first offensive lineman everywhere, number 18, all those things. He's a leader. He's an extremely smart football player as well. That's the thing that you knew about him from day one. It's hard to make the transition to center, and I don't think that anybody can just play center. Now, I was encouraged by Chasen Hines last year, really sitting behind Lloyd Cushenberry for a year. Let's remember in 2018, Chasen Hines was the guy that started games at guard.
Right? At Auburn.
He started against Georgia at home as well. This is a guy that had big-time moments as a true freshman moving over from the defensive line in 2018. So I thought last year was the perfect situation. He sits behind Lloyd Cushenberry. He learns. He grows. He's your center moving forward. But this is the offense that, the center has to be another quarterback on the field. He has to get you in the right protection because there's a ton, more than any team in the country, Hanny, 5-man protection. When you have a 5-man protection, the offensive line can't be wrong. They have to be on the guy they're supposed to be on, and the quarterback has to know who's free. That is a very difficult thing to do. You have to have a center that can handle that. And so if Chasen Hines right now, if they don't feel like he's the best guy to handle that moving forward, it's not to say he's not a great football player, but maybe Liam Shanahan is the guy to do that. And what's that do for you? Well, Chasen Hines can be the backup center. He can also compete at right guard, right? Let's not forget that. That's a position that's open. Now, Anthony Bradford looks like he's got the leg up on that competition, but this was needed because LSU's offensive line, it needed some depth. And if Liam Shanahan can give you that depth, he's doing exactly what you wanted when you got him from Harvard. And if he can be a starter, that's lanyard. That's extra. And so it gives you another guy that can be in that rotation. The best thing about this LSU offensive line, in my opinion, you have a lot of guys that can play multiple positions. And I know sometimes you want to have your 5 that are set out in place just like stones, but I think if you have some guys that can play center, they can play guard. Shanahan can play guard, center, or maybe even some tackle. We heard right tackle when he first got here. That helps this LSU offensive line because their numbers right now are down.
You're talking about being able to quarterback the team, quarterback the offensive line, and that's one thing. But another thing that you have to be able to move your feet. You've got to have a little bit of flexibility down there. Chasen Hines is listed at 349 pounds.
Yep.
You can't play center at 349 pounds. At least I haven't seen any guys play center effectively at that weight. I mean, he's a big man. He's 6'3". As a guard, he's always reminded me an awful lot at guard of a young Trey Turner.
Yep.
Because Turner came in here at about 330, played about 335 pounds, maybe even a little bit heavier than that. When he showed up at the combine at 308, it's like, whoa, what happened to you?
Yeah.
But Turner was an excellent player here. He was a big man. He had a huge frame. He was just naturally big. Hines reminds me of Turner.
Yep.
I don't think Turner could have played center here. I don't think he had the flexibility to be able to get out and make some of the reach blocks and snap the ball and be able to step and do that at that weight. That's just me.
I'm all for an undersized offensive lineman at center. Lloyd Cushenberry, going back to him, Brett Helms, when we were winning championship in 2007. When I was in the NFL, we had Nick Hardwick. It's 285, 290 pounds sometimes. Dan Copen, when I was with the Broncos after he had the run with the Patriots. And I love a guy that's about 6'2", right around 300 pounds. Right, I like my centers a little bit shorter. I like them where they can get underneath, a zero nose if they have to. They have enough weight behind them to be able to push the pile, but they've got to be flexible, like you said, Haney. They got to be able to slide, protect, or do whatever.
With Shanahan, he could have benefited so much from a spring and certainly will from a fall camp because he can't answer any of the questions that you have about him right now without the pads on, because you don't have to worry about him figuring out the offense. You don't have to worry about a guy who's raw. He's started for 3 years. He knows how to play football. I just want to see if he can do it against SEC level players. That's the question. And a lot of times when you get guys from smaller school, they've played elite competition for a game or two in one of these money games. Well, Harvard doesn't play those because they don't need any money. And when they play out of conference, they play Georgetown and Rhode Island and Lafayette. They just don't have any need to go play Penn State or Georgia. So you haven't seen him up against his competition level ever. That's the question you're going to have about him, and he doesn't get to try to prove that because they can't work out.
I was all ready to make a smart comment when you said Shanahan can't answer the question. He went to Harvard. He can answer any question.
Any question.
I mean, what did he make
what
on
an
his
Irish
ACT?
name, Liam Shanahan.
So they got that. Maybe when we get to August camp, if we get to August camp, we hope we get to August camp. I can't think of any question that's more pressing than who's going to be the starting center. I mean, I know we're going to have some other battles along the offensive line, but at least I've got an idea in my head what's going on there. I think that center thing is, I'm going to say, wide open right now.
And you can figure it out because they're going to get a face mask full of Tyler Shelvin and Apu Ika and Glenn Logan, and you're going to figure out who's ready to go and who's not.
Those are better than the guys that play at Princeton.
That's correct.
Better than
or
the Tigers
Georgetown or any of those places. Look, when we had Coach Ensminger on the Coach's Caravan, I'll continue to say this. He didn't try to shy away from it. He said the offensive line is a concern right now. We've got to figure out who our guys are moving forward. But this is encouraging in the fact that you have belief in Shanahan that he can potentially be a starter. That gives you another piece. And so I think the offensive line has guys that have started beforehand. And when you look at Rosenthal, started an SEC game. Chasen Hines started an SEC game. When you look at right tackle, Deculus, obviously, Ed Ingram, obviously. So they've got guys that have started before. Now they have to take that next step. And Deculus and Ed Ingram, I think, have already taken that next step. But you've got to have another guy. You need one more piece to step up, and you've got to have that swing guy. You call it a Swiss Army knife, and you hate using that term, but you have to use it because every offensive line has to have that guy. In the NFL, when you're traveling, when you're cutting your rosters down, can he play every position across the board? Because that's the guy that's going to make the team.
Miles Brennan is a true 6'5", yes? We're saying 6'4"?
He's 6'4", yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm just looking at a potential offensive line that could have 6'7", 6'4", 6'5", 6'7", 6'7".
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very good intramural basketball team with those heights.
I don't know. I played intramural basketball in the 6 foot and under league, so I don't know anything about that world.
I played against the football team in the intramural championship game and
but
took them to the woodshed.
You got in for like 30 seconds. You don't.
Well, I wasn't quite 30, but I was out there.
I mean, seriously, if Bradford wins the right guard job and
Deculus, how tall is he?
He's 6'7".
He might be.
I did not realize that.
A legit 6'7".
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and Rosenthal is 6'7".
I knew he
was.
was.
Tackles 6'7" is okay. You have a 6'5" guard, a 6'5" center, and a 6'7" guard. These are big people. Ingram at 6'4" would be the shortest one out of
He's the run.
Yeah,
He's the run. 6'4".
You tell him that.